Okay then. Lovely.
So I'm ready.
History repeats itself in more ways than one by Friendly the Flower. Chapter 8. Every choice has consequences. Clover and Kanako left the steamworks to head towards the elevator with Starla and Sorova following closely behind them. Taking a deep breath, Clover pressed the elevator button before they all stepped inside. None of them said a word to each other as the elevator made its way up, still rather shaken from all that's just happened. Once it finally reached the top and the door opened, they all stepped out and began walking into Hotland. Sorba led the others as they reached an area with a few split paths, one of them being a flight of stairs. UG apartment should be up these stairs here. Let's head on up. Hey, Clover! Martlet yelled from above them as she flapped her wings whilst hurtling towards the ground. A little too fast. She ended up hitting the ground with a thud. Falling down, she fell down, causing a few items to spill out of her bag, one of them being a syringe which rolled towards her at Clover's shoes. Kanako was startled as she looked down at Martlet. Whoa, Martlet, are you okay? Hey, Kanako, I'm fine, thanks. I was just being a bit clumsy there, Martlet said as she stood up. Clover looked down at the syringe before looking back at her.
Martha, what? I can't speak. Martha, what are you doing here?
I was going to check on you in the dunes, but some folks in the Wild East said you were going to Hotland, so I rushed over to see if you made it all right. Good thing you are, at least. Oh, Martlet said with a nervous smile while brushing herself off and forgetting how to use grammar. Sorega looked at the bird monster suspiciously. You're Martlet, right? The one who sent Clover that letter. Yeah, I did. Thanks for taking Clover here for me. So, did all of you accompany him here? Martlet asked them. Clover was unsure to respond to that.
Well, it's a long story. We were about to enter UG Apartments up ahead and discuss our next plan, so we'll tell you what happened there.
Oh, all right then. I guess I'll follow you guys then, Martlet responded with a smile. Sorba sighed as she turned toward the stairs. Okay, let's go, everyone. Just as Clover began walking, he once again noticed the syringe near his feet and picked it up.
Oh, you forgot to pick this thing up, Art.
Martlet's eyes widened as she saw the syringe in Clover's hand, trying to come up with a way to explain herself. That's... Oh man, I really needed to hide that better.
So what is this thing?
Clover asked, concerned. Martlet sighed as she figured she might as well complain. It's a DT syringe. It's something that, I believe, makes a monster much stronger when they're injected with it. Back when I had lab duty, I kind of stole it from the lab. I wanted to have it just in case any violent human were to appear and wreak havoc. You know, to be powerful enough to stop one. She finished awkwardly. Clover wasn't sure how to respond to this, that his friend would have a failsafe against him if he took a more violent path. He supposed it was understandable, but he couldn't deny that it hurt him a little on the inside. Martlet weakly smiled at Clover as she continued. But, Clover, you made me realise that I don't need to do that. Ever since we met at Snowdon, you've always been so kind to me, even when I tried to fight you. And I'm sure you treated your other friends no different, right? Shujin, my mentor, he told me that humans were dangerous and couldn't be trusted. I didn't want to believe that was true, and I'm honestly glad that it wasn't. Kanako flinched a little as she heard Martlet mention her father and what he had said about humans. He told her the same thing after that day. It was now that she realised that his actions were rather consistent with how he spoke of humanity to her. She hated to say it, but she was glad he was wrong. Clover was happy to hear that at least. He looked up at Martlet with a sincere smile.
Thanks, Marlet. I just wanted. I know you just wanted to be careful, so don't sweat it. All right.
Right. Thanks, Clover. And honestly, I think you should keep that syringe with you. Knowing how clumsy I am, it's probably only a matter of time before I accidentally stab myself with it. Not like I really need it anymore anyway, so it'll be safer with you. Just don't inject it so you can steal Flowey's power.
No, really? Well, all right. I guess I don't see a problem with holding on to it.
Clover said as he put the syringe in his satchel.
Well, let's head on up.
The group began heading up the stairs to UG apartments as Flowey watched from the sidelines, a peeved look on his face. The 5 of them entered the building, basking in the cool air of the building. A stark contrast to the temperature outside of the building. They entered the dining area and sat down at a table inside the building to discuss everything that went down, but not before relaying everything that had happened to Martlet before they came to the building. Clover looked at Martlet's reaction as Soreba finished explaining everything to her. She took it pretty well, all things considered. I think I'm gonna throw up, Martlet said, covering her mouth with her wing as she took it pretty well. Chujin was my mentor. Well, more than that, actually. He was my best friend. I can't fathom that he would do all that. He told me about the Snowden attack once and how he was there when it happened. That's when he told me that all humans were dangerous, which is what made me steal the syringe. I can't believe he had this whole plan to pretty much turn us into super soldiers or something. I mean, I knew he was into sci-fi, but geez. Soreba looked down with guilt. Yeah. When he died, he trusted me to continue his work for him. But now, after knowing all that he's truly done, I realize that maybe the better course of action was to just let go. I mean, he was my husband and I couldn't have said no to him, but even so, I was still hesitant, especially when I met Clover. I'm glad I didn't go through with it, and that you all talked me out of it. It's more of a weight off my shoulders than I thought. Starlo patted Serpa's shoulder as he smiled at her.
It's okay, Serpa. We're just happy that you made the right decision in the end. And thanks for talking. Thanks for talking with us, Marlet. It's nice to meet you. And your friend the deputy is a friend of mine.
Martlet smiled back as she nervously scratched the back of her head. Oh, yeah, it's nice to meet you too, Starlo. I can tell you and Clover got along well. Kaneko nervously spoke. So, sorry to interrupt, but what's going to be our plan now? Clover, what do you think?
Well, my original plan was to confront Asgore and save the 5 human children trapped at the castle. That was pretty much my goal ever since I fell down here. As as hard as it is, I can't just sit by and abandon them. Not when they need my help.
Soreba looked at Clover with a worried face. Clover, I hate to sound disrespectful, but there's very little chance you'll be able to defeat Asgore. His power far surpasses even my own. He is our king for a reason, after all, and he only needs 2 more souls to break the barrier. I'm sure he wouldn't hesitate for a second to make that 1. Clover flinched a little, the conflict inside him growing. He always forgot the fact that Asgore was collecting these human souls to free Monsterkind, to free his friends of this prison. He wasn't sure what to do now. Sure, those 5 human children dying was an injustice, and it was Asgore's fault that it happened, but he also wanted his new friends to be happy on the surface. Monsterkind didn't deserve to be trapped down here. As it was, Clover was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Going off of what Soreba said, there was very little chance he could have defeated Asgore anyway. Kaneko noticed the conflict in Clover's eyes and nudged his shoulder a little, building up the courage as she prepared to ask him something. Hey, Clover, is it okay if you and I talk in private? I need to tell you something important. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen in an AC fic. Clover snapped out of it as he looked at Kaneko.
Okay, I reckon that's fine. That alright with you guys?
Sorba slowly nodded. I suppose if it's something personal you two wish to discuss, then go ahead. Just don't take too long, all right? Kaneko nodded in response as she got up from her seat. Of course. Thanks, Mel. Follow me, Clover.
Alright.
Clover nervously got up from his seat before beginning to follow Kaneko out the building. Once they walked out of the building, into the not-so-fresh hotland air outside of the building, Kaneko turned her attention to the alleyway next to the building. This way, Clover. I want to see something that's not the building. Kaneko led Clover into the alleyway between the buildings towards a flight of stairs next to the building. Once they walked up the stairs, the two of them entered the roof area on top of the building, where Clover saw a massive metal structure right behind the huge apartment building.
Whoa, what's that huge building there?
Oh, that's the core. The main source of power for the underground and all these buildings. That's the first time I've seen that building up close, though. Kaneko responded, looking up at the building. The two of them stared at it for a moment before Clover spoke up once more about the building.
Are you alright, Kaneko?
Yeah, I'm fine, Clover. Just still processing everything I learned. I know that my dad loved me, but in the weeks leading up to his death, he barely seemed to have the time for me anymore. He was always cooped up in his office in our building, working on his project, and by the time I was able to spend more time with him again, he was already bedridden, just days before he passed. Yes, that was the building. I just wish I could have spent more time with him, but if he told Mom the truth earlier, maybe we could have helped him, prevent him from dying, but I suppose... I guess that's all in the past now. I still have to come to terms with the fact that my own father was responsible for a child's death and that he experimented on their soul. Kaneko clenched her fists as she closed her eyes, not looking at the buildings. Chujin might be my father, and I still love him, but I can't really excuse him for that. And he lied about it too. If he really was fired, he had to have done a pretty bad job or something. Then Kaneko thought back to the day she found out the truth in that basement, which was in fact inside a building. Oh my god, the buildings. I really hate to say this, but I feel like if I had taken the serum that day, it wouldn't even have worked. It might have hurt me. At the time, I really believed it would have worked. The only thing that stopped me was my nerves. I always looked up to my dad. I really wanted to be just like him, but after I found out all that he's done, I don't know anymore. Clover slowly took off his hat to smooth his hair down before looking past the building at Kaneko with sincere eyes.
Kaneko, listen. You don't have to be just like your father. You don't have to be just like your father to continue his legacy. Like Starlo said before, he made a lot of bad choices. Those can't be excused. But he also did lots of other things to make the underground a better place for many monsters. That's what you have to. That's what you should strive for, Kaneko. You don't have to follow your father's legacy, because you can make his legacy into your own.
Kaneko looked back at Clover, ignoring the building with teary eyes as she listened, before walking over and hugging him tight. Thank you, Clover. I don't know what I would have done without you. Just Thanks for telling me that. It's a huge weight off my shoulders now.
Yeah, of course, Kaneko. I'm just happy if you're happy. So I wanted to make you feel better.
The two of them held on to their hug between the buildings a little longer before pulling back a bit. They both looked into each other's eyes for a while as they seemed to be lost in the moment. Then Kaneko seemed to snap out of it before quickly stepping away, averting her eyes to look at the buildings as she tried to contain her blushing. Clover also stepped back as he nervously put his hat back on to hide his flushed face.
Sorry, I guess we got pretty sidetracked. So what was it you wanted to tell me?
That's about your mission, Clover. Now, don't take this the wrong way, but please don't go to the castle to face Asgard. I know you really want to save those humans. I get that. And I realize that none of them should have had that fate, but I can't let you risk becoming just like them, Clover. I know Asgard isn't gonna let you have them. He'll try to take your soul as well. Clover thought about what Kaneko said and what Flowey had said the night before. But those children needed someone to save them. They were trapped there in the castle with no one to come help them. Clover thought that the just thing to do would be to go and save them. But then he thought about Kaneko and his friends, and all the other monsters down here. He knew none of them deserved to be stuck down here, and he also knew that there was a good chance he wouldn't be able to defeat Asgore anyway. If he somehow did succeed and saved the five children, then their deaths would have been pointless. Then his mind went to another option, a more self-sacrificing option. He really wanted his friends to be free, didn't he? To experience the same surfaced air he'd experienced for his whole life. But would he really be willing to leave his friends behind so he could do that? He honestly wasn't sure if he could go through with such a thing, especially with Kaneko looking at the buildings like this. He just had to ask for her input.
Well, what do you think we should do then, Kaneko?
Kaneko took a deep breath before responding. I want you to stay with us, Clover. You can come and live with us back in the dunes. Back in the dunes. That area rarely has any real guards, so there's a really low chance you'll get caught. It could be tough, but I promise we'll try our hardest to make it work. We can even live in a building. Listen, Clover, ever since you saved me yesterday, I've gotten quite attached to you. You're my friend, and I really don't want to lose you. Clover thought about what Kaneko said to him. He had to admit it wasn't a bad idea, actually. Plus, the notion of living with his friends in the underground. It sounded like a dream come true. A far cry from his life on the surface, but saying yes to that sounded almost selfish. Like he was a bad thing those children that needed saving. That all of them died, but he got to live. But no. Clover had to be reasonable here. Clover let out a long sigh as he finally gave in.
Alright, I think we can give your little idea a shot.
Anika's face lit up as she heard this. But really? Thanks, Clover. That means so much more to me than you'd think. I know we can make this work. As long as we're together, we'll be fine, right? Clover nodded his head before smiling at her.
Of course, you're right. I realize now that I just can't leave you all behind. I've come to become attached to you and to you all as well. Not going to save those humans is a tough choice, but we can find a way to honor their memory, as long as their deaths won't be for nothing.
Of course we can, Clover. Now, come on, let's go tell the others the good news, Kaneko said, smiling at him softly. Kaneko began walking over towards Clover when, oh look, a lovely shot of the building. She stopped in her tracks and looked down to see a sharp line that stabbed right through her chest. Clover's eyes widened as he froze, unable to move in shock. Kaneko felt her body was about to fall apart. She looked at Clover with wide eyes. But Clover, what is... up on her. Tears began dripping down her face as she began trembling, still looking over Clover. Clover, I love. Then, Monica's body instantly turned to dust as a vibrating right soul floated in her place. So 6 white pellets surrounded it before they shattered her soul into several pieces as Clover helplessly watched. Then Flowey popped out of the ground with an annoyed expression on his face. You have got to be kidding me. And after all I've been through, after everything I told you, you still refuse to do the one thing you were supposed to do. You came here with a mission, Clover. Your one job was to follow through, no matter how many of these stupid distractions came your way. Then Florrie laughed before looking up at Clover with a maniacal grin. Oh, I gotta say, it was nice to finally snap, you know? She never even saw it coming. Judging by her last words, it seems like she had a thing for you, partner. Lucky guy. Well, sorry for killing your little girlfriend, pal. Flowey saw Clover glaring at him while trembling. Come on, don't give me that look, pal. Flowey sneered, his grin stretching right wider. You didn't really think you could play house down here, did you? Oh, let's all live happily ever after. He mocked in a high-pitched voice, even though his voice is always high-pitched. Sorry, buddy, but that's not how the king works. And guess what? It's your fault she's gone. If you had just done your job, she'd still be alive. But nope, you just had to get all sentimental, huh? I bet she even... Flyer was interrupted by Clover as he quickly drew his gun from his holster and fired every bullet he had at Flowey, while glaring at him with rage as tears dripped from his eyes. Flowey laughed as his face became riddled with bullet holes before he collapsed to the ground, lifeless. File loaded. Clover's heart skipped a beat as he felt the world go back a whole minute. Flowey smiled before shaking his head. Pretty trigger happy now, are ya? Don't forget, buddy, I was always the one in control here. And if you won't do what I say anymore, and the only thing useful about you anymore is that soul of yours, so just sit still and die. Flowey summoned a bunch of white pellets that surrounded Clover. He laughed Flower laughed maniacally as the pellets closed in on him, while Clover trembled with fear and anger. As Clover felt his HP drop to 0, his vision went black. He couldn't even see the buildings anymore.
No.
Before he felt his very essence getting grabbed by several vines and then getting placed inside something. It was then that Clover went unconscious.
On top of the building.
Yes. The real MVP was the building.
Thank God for the building.
Exactly.
Okay, I gotta go.